He did several of the Transplant Games of America as well. So I want to welcome him and share his story. Thanks, Jordan.
Hey everyone, thanks for coming out tonight. It's good to see our Team Iowa members and our IDN friends that have been shepherding us through the games the last several years. We're thankful to have them. So my name is Jim Steinberg. I am a two-time kidney recipient. I received my first kidney in 2004 and my second kidney in 2019. My kidneys failed at a young age, at age 26. I was otherwise healthy and active. I would say the summer of summer of 2002, I was out in the working world, and I was, starting to get more tired, and I just kind of didn't think much of it, having a first-time full-time job, out of school. It's a different experience, so I just kind of chalked it up to that. And as time went on, I started to get, headaches and funny taste in my mouth and being thirsty all the time. So finally, December 2002, I went to the doctor. I said, okay, all this stuff's going on. He says, okay, let's get you checked out. We will, let's go ahead and run some blood work. And we did that. He said, okay, we'll come back in a week. We'll look at the results and go from there. So 5 days go by. I don't have that follow-up appointment quite yet, but I was getting really bad headaches that night along with those symptoms, and I just felt, compelled to go be seen immediately. So drove myself down to the ER, down to Iowa Lutheran, and when they took my blood pressure, the tech kind of looked at me and he said, "Are you been doing drugs?" And I was like, "No, why?" And he said, "Well, your blood pressure's 230 over 140, and I'm 26 years old and healthy." I was like, "Is that bad?" I was like, yeah. He's like, he took it again. He's like, "Yeah, we'll run some tests." And so about an hour goes by, and the doctor came in, and he's a 30-year veteran, in his mid to late 50s, and he said, "That's the top 5 blood pressure I've seen where somebody didn't have a stroke or die. I'm sorry to tell you, your kidneys are at 17% function, and we'll try to figure out why, but that's where you're at right now." They failed. We don't know to this day why they failed. We try to do a biopsy, get a sample of the tissue, and the way it was described to me that the needle just basically skipped off the kidney. You couldn't grab any tissue. There's too much scarring. So they could rule out all the other kind of recurring kidney illnesses that other people have, but for me, it's just we don't know. So some months later, I started dialysis, and then I had friends and family start to get tested to be a donor. So when I first got the news, that was a week before Christmas, and I never really understood before how anybody could be, down at Christmas, you go out in public, and until that happened to me that year. And then another years go by, another Christmas, and I'm still ill on dialysis, and I'm one of those people that are, just way down here. Because there's no end in sight for me. I had a couple, my mom went through the process to get tested, and they ruled her out at the last minute due to a potential health issue. She'd be fine with 2 kidneys, but not with 1. One of my dad's college buddies, same thing. He got to the final stages of testing, and they found something that said, "Oh, you're fine with 2 kidneys, but if we take 1, that'll put you at risk. So sorry, Jim, you're just gonna stay on the machines, for now." Finally, a friend of mine that I knew in college, we were roommates and baseball teammates. He made it through the testing, and we did the surgery in 2004. And it was, the first few days were great. They said within hours, the kidney starts working, producing urine, taking the toxins out of my body, that the sickest color of my skin just left and came back to normal. It was really amazing. I did have rejection, though, found me, a few days later. So we took a few rounds of trying to find the right medication that would work, and finally my body stopped rejecting and off we went. I would find out later in time that started a chronic antibody process that 15 years later would require another transplant for me. But so I'll get to that here in a minute. Yeah, so that I was just fortunate to have a good buddy like that would step up and give me the kidney. We named the kidney after his name is Ryan, so we named the kidney Little Rai Rai, and had a lot of fun with that. And then he and his wife were just married, like a couple months before that, and so that wasn't on their bingo card for the first year of marriage. But as it turns out, when they were on bed rest, they found out shortly thereafter they're going to have a kid. So we refer to their daughter as the transplant baby from that year, and we got to spend the games in Denver, with her and her brothers, with us. They got to experience the games with us, so that was pretty special this year. And then so like I said, I got 15 years with that first kidney. My second kidney came also from a friend of mine, and we go back as far as high school. He was the quarterback of the team, and I was the center. And I did my best to protect him. Probably not so well some nights in football, but he turned around and saved me. 25 years after we walked off the field. So that kidney also is named after my friend Travis in some way. Back in high school, we were assigned names in Spanish class, and his Spanish name was Eduardo. So my kidney that I have now, his function is named Eduardo. So I have a lot of fun with that. But for me, I've been a part of Team Iowa for about 18 years now. I've been to 8 games in the U.S. and 1 World Game in Australia. And I needed that first transplant that allowed me that gave me a gift of life experience. That same year, my wife and I got married, so I got to enjoy a wedding, got to enjoy a honeymoon. We didn't have to stay local for dialysis. We got to fly, to the Dominican Republic. And then, we got to travel, and when we traveled, I got to go out and hike and have energy. And in one year, my wife got a group on for me to pilot an aircraft. I was brave enough to sit in the back while I, steering around with large corrections.
So bad.
And her back, yeah.
He did not miss his calling.
But also allowed me to become a father, and that second kidney, I needed, for more life experience, like to be able to have energy to play with my kids, to be one of their coaches for them and their friends, and also to now be able to enjoy, more milestones that they have as time goes on. So I think the games were good for me to get healthy again, to feel that competitive energy again, to have the camaraderie with both my Iowa teammates and the people that we meet from other states. A lot of them you'll see in that picture there. So I always look forward to seeing them, every 2 years, and hope that everything's good with them. And the games my first games were in Pittsburgh in 2008. I really didn't know what to expect. My first donor and I went, and it was amazing. You're basically dropped into this festival, this convention where there's really no need to break the ice or small talk. You just jump right into your stories, and everybody immediately understands what you've been through because their stories are similar. But it's all new to you, so you just you feed off those stories. It really energizes you. I know it did that for me. And it was, it was just wonderful. The games I went to in Pittsburgh was special for me because one of the speakers that I got to shake hands with was Larry Hagman, J.R. Ewing from Dallas. A lot of the kids were like, "Who?" But he had a liver transplant back in the day, and so he kicked off the opening ceremonies by showing everybody to be proud of their scars. So he led the ceremony, he pulled up his shirt in front of thousands of people, and everybody else did the same thing. So I hope they bring that back someday. I thought that was a great tradition. And he was a great guy, all smiles. Also at those games, Catherine Herridge, who used to be at Fox and then CBS, she's the first living liver donor that I had met. She donated to her, at the time, 2-year-old son. So I thought that was fascinating that could be done, and she looked great, he looked great. And one of the speakers was a guy that got a kidney from his uncle when he was 10, and 44 years later he's there in Pittsburgh talking to us. And he looked like he was still healthy, this rancher from out west. And I found that, very encouraging to see that, that there's longevity possible for us too. And then, the competitions, I was always told that because where they put the kidney after transplant outside of the rib cage, you gotta be careful. But then, we get after it in 3-on-3 basketball, and there's a lot of pushing and shoving and diving on the floor. So I was like, okay, I guess, I've never heard of anybody losing their kidney because of that event. So it was fun. The way I described it, my first year we played a team from Southern California, and I envisioned guys coming off the courts in Venice Beach, straight to our court, and it was rough and it was fun. So it was just great to be alive. And then the games after that, I've met more people, and then my family getting to come to the games and participate in things has been fantastic. So just thankful to be here, and for the gift that my donors Ryan and Travis gave to me, and happy to answer questions afterwards if anybody wants to speak. So thanks for having me.